You know, we all have that person in our lives. Someone we look at and just think, wow, they must be a total genius. But what if I told you they might just be really lucky? Today we're going to dive into Nassim Nicholas Taleb's incredible book, Fooled by Randomness. And trust me, this is one of those ideas that could completely change the way you look at success and failure.
All right, so first things first, we got to tackle this huge, and I mean huge mental shortcut our brains just love to take. It's what we call the illusion of skill. We are basically hardwired to think that a great outcome must be the result of some brilliant plan.
Just think about it for a second. You know exactly who I'm talking about. That person who seems to have it all figured out. The perfect job, the massive house, the incredible investments. We just automatically label them smart, disciplined, a real visionary. But Taleb comes along and asks this really uncomfortable question. Are we sure it's skill, or did they just get a lucky roll of the dice?
And this quote right here, this is pretty much the heart of the entire book. Taleb's argument is that we're walking around with these Stone Age brains that are just desperate to find patterns in everything. It was a great survival mechanism back in the day, but in our modern world, it messes with us. It makes us see skill when there's only luck, and it makes us see a clear, deterministic plan where there's, well, just pure chaotic randomness.
Okay, so to really see this in action, let's get into a great story from the book. It's about two traders. And here's the thing, they live right next door to each other, but they might as well be living in completely different universes.
So first up, we've got Taleb. He's the cautious, conservative guy. His main goal isn't to get crazy rich, it's just to, well, not blow up. He makes a perfectly good living, but let's be honest, nobody's writing articles about him. He's kind of seen as a boring plodder. And then there's John. John is everything Nero isn't. He's bold, he's aggressive, and he is wildly successful. We're talking fancy cars, a much bigger house, the whole shebang. Everyone sees him as a financial genius, a real master of the universe.
So let's take a closer look at Nero's strategy, right? He's all about making these small, steady gains. He is absolutely obsessed with avoiding that one single rare event, what Taleb famously calls a black swan, the kind of thing that could just wipe him out completely. His life is pretty good. It's comfortable, he's got time for intellectual pursuits, but yeah, by Wall Street standards, it's profoundly boring.
And then you have John. This guy is making millions. His performance is just spectacular. I mean, he is the poster child for success, and he is 100% convinced it's all because of his superior intellect and his brilliant trading models. And for years, the world basically agreed with him. It kept rewarding his risk-taking, which just confirmed his genius over and over again, both to himself and to everybody else.
So you can see how this played out, right? For year after year, John's way of seeing the world looked like the right way. He just kept getting richer and richer, while Nero just plodded along. John was the clear winner. He was the smart one. Until, one day, the music just stopped.
The moment of truth came in the fall of 1998. A really rare financial crisis hit, and it started cascading from Russia all across the globe. It was exactly the kind of super improbable event that John's sophisticated models said just couldn't happen.
And here's the real kicker. What makes this so powerful? John used to openly mock the cautious traders like Nero. He saw their prudence not as wisdom, but as a total failure of courage and intellect. He was absolutely sure they were just dinosaurs, destined for extinction.
And then, in a flash, it was all over. John was completely wiped out. His so-called genius strategy was exposed for what it was, a massive, massive bet against a rare event. And well, that event finally happened. The master of the universe's luck had officially run out. And meanwhile, Nero, the boring, overpaid hick, he survived just fine.
So this really gets to the core of the whole thing. Why are we so easily fooled by people like John? The answer lies in this really profound flaw in our thinking, something called survivorship bias. And it's all about the stories we see, and maybe more importantly, the silent ones that we don't.
Okay, think about it like this. We only get to see one reality play out, right? Just one single timeline. But there were literally countless alternative histories that could have happened, but didn't. See, in the history we all saw, John looked like a genius for nearly a decade. But in hundreds of other possible timelines, that 1998 crisis might have hit in 95 or 92, and he would have blown up way sooner. The big mistake we make is we see his survival in our one timeline and assume it was skill that would have worked in all of them.
Taleb uses this perfect, if a little grim, analogy. Russian roulette. Imagine someone gets ridiculously rich playing it. After 5 successful clicks of the chamber, this person looks like a rock star, right? Fearless. A master of risk. We're all in awe of their nerve. But here's the thing.
We never, ever get to interview the person who's there for the 6th click. Their story is silent. It's just buried.
And that right there, that's the absolute core of survivorship bias. It's like the old thought experiment. If you put 1 billion monkeys in front of 1 billion typewriters, eventually, just by pure dumb luck, one of them is going to type out a perfect copy of the Iliad. And what would we do? We'd foolishly go and analyze that one monkey's typing technique, its diet, its upbringing, trying to find the secret to its genius, all while totally ignoring the 999 million other monkeys who just typed complete and utter nonsense.
So you see how this totally warps our view of reality, right? We see the winners, they're visible, they're on magazine covers, and we study their habits assuming they hold the secret key to success. But we completely ignore the silent losers in what Taleb calls the cemetery, the thousands, maybe millions, who had the exact same habits and failed miserably. We end up mistaking the quirks of a lucky few for some kind of universal law of success.
And all of this leads to what Taleb calls his table of confusion, which is just a brilliant summary. On one side, you've got reality, stuff like luck, randomness, and noise. And on the other side, you've got the neat and tidy story we tell ourselves, that it was all about skill, determinism, and a clear signal. Our brain is basically a machine that systematically translates that messy left column into the comforting right column just to make the world feel safer and more predictable.
Okay, so this is all super interesting, right? But what do we actually do with this information? I mean, how are we supposed to live in a world that's so profoundly random without just being completely paralyzed by it all?
Well, the single most important takeaway from the whole book is this. You have to judge the process, not the outcome. Think about it. John's process was awful, but he got a good outcome for a while because he was lucky. Nero's process was excellent, and it produced steady, reliable results. See, a bad process that leads to a good outcome is just a ticking time bomb. But a good process that leads to a bad outcome, that's just bad luck. The key is to stick with the good process.
And what's really amazing is that this isn't some new financial trick. This is ancient wisdom we're talking about. The Greek sage Solon once warned the fabulously wealthy king Croesus, basically telling him not to get too smug about all his success. The gist of it was, count no man happy until the end. Just because you've had a fortunate past doesn't mean you're guaranteed a fortunate future, especially if that past was built on nothing more than a lucky streak.
So, I guess that's the real question to leave you with. Think about the successful people you really admire in your own life. Is their success truly because of a solid, repeatable process? Or are they just the lucky monkey who happened to type the Iliad? Are you admiring the skill of a Russian roulette player who's just had a good run, while totally forgetting about that silent cemetery full of all the ones whose luck ran out? Thinking about that, well, the answer just might change everything.